Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie Jessica.
So it's that time of the week. It is time for us to do our 1-minute book recs or our weekly reading wrap up where we talk about all the books that we read throughout the week with 1-minute synopsises. All right, so before we get started, what?
Subscribe. Follow us on Instagram for our Road to 1K giveaway. Our next giveaway is at 500. This lovely dark reader romance cinch sack full of fun swag along with Twisted Love is our giveaway at 500.
Yes, so when we get 500 subscribers, we'll be giving that away. And we also give an extra entry for those of you who are following us on Instagram, and all of that is linked down below.
We will be drawing a winner.
We will be.
Very excited. That should be coming soon.
Yes. So I have a feeling that this video today is going to be very interesting. Mandy is extremely tired and I am extremely stressed out. So this could either go one of two ways. This could be a disaster today or it could just be a disaster today. So let's see. Let's see how things go.
I feel like when the 1 minute timer is going for you, I might snooze and it's going to startle me and I'm going to be like, oh.
I have a feeling that I'm going to rant a lot today. And the first one even that bad. Like everything just is all it gets on my
feel ranty. Well, let's start with my hair. What the heck is happening? Let's rant about that.
We could rant about the fact that mine needs to be highlighted again and that I found a lot of grays in our videos from last week.
I know, I can really see those. Elderly people doing videos, Jessica.
Very funny. Okay. So how many books did you get? I mean, you had Fair Week. You were very busy. So how many books did you get read this week?
5.
Okay. Well, I read 10, but 2 of them. No, listen. 2 of them.
You always have to outdo me.
2 of them were trilogies. So we're going to talk about 6.
Okay.
Okay.
So you go first, and then we should work it. It should work out.
Yes, it should work out. So do you have the timer ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Yeah, I'm ready.
I have my fingers crossed that your mom calls so you'll get really large again.
You know, every time she calls, it messes up the screen, and when I come back on, it makes my face huge on the screen.
I'm gonna text her.
Let's not. No, don't you dare.
Okay. So,
my first book. The first book that I read is called Rewriting Destiny, and it is by Shelley Morgan. This is a prequel to her Forsaken Sinners MC series. This is about Danielle and Zane. So they grew up, this is like a friends to lovers situation. They grew up next door to each other. Danielle was raised by her grandma, and she grew up next to Zane and his brother. There's a lot of like little tragic things that happen to Danielle as she's growing up, and also to Zane as well. And this is... It's hard to describe. It's their story, but because of certain things and certain events that happen to her as she's growing up, with a main one happening right as she goes off to college between her and Zane, she takes off, she leaves Zane, she leaves that whole situation, she runs away, and she goes to the West Coast, and she actually meets this MC group. She becomes a tattoo artist for them, and then eventually Zane shows up there, and he's hurt her beyond repair, and they have to like come to grips with what has happened between the two of them. It was good. I gave it 3 stars. I did enjoy it. But if I had to hear baby girl one more damn time in that book, look, I am all for pet names.
Mm-hmm.
It should not be every other sentence.
There's a fine line with doing it just enough to make your reader go, ooh, I like that.
She has a boyfriend in high school that calls her I think he calls her beautiful. So in every other sentence, someone was either calling her baby girl or beautiful. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she has a name. She has a name. Then she starts drinking because that's her coping mechanism. I was very concerned for her liver as like a 16-year-old in high school.
Yeah, but that's
it was never addressed.
If you watch like any of the CW TV shows like Vampire Diaries, they were all in high school, and granted our vampires are older, but everybody's just drinking all the time.
I'm sitting here, where'd they even get like, she just walks up and grabs the bottle of Jack Daniels and just kind of walks off with it, and I'm like, huh, Where?
I was so naive in high school.
Oh, I don't think it helped that my grandpa was the chief of police. We were not invited to parties because of that. And I was just, yeah,
Well,
no, didn't help.
I will never forget when somebody, I'll tell you later who he was, but we were talking on the phone,
Mhm.
back when people had to talk on the phone, there was no
Yes.
text.
Yes. No, we had conversations. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And he's like, well, I'm going to go hang out with my friend Jack Daniels and Jim Bean. And I
And
was
you're
like,
like, who are
who
they?
are those? He went to a different school, but where we grew up, the three schools were very small. So you pretty
We're
much knew
much
everybody. And I'm
smaller.
like, I don't
Yeah.
know who those kids are. Are they older than us?
That sounds about right.
Yep.
I wouldn't have known either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about your first book.
My first book was a Christmas book.
Oh, okay.
It's called The Package by K Bromberg. It
Ooh.
was actually a listen for me. It was 4 stars. This is about Julia and Archer. Julia's had like just a really bad day, and she gets on the elevator at her work, and she's just been fired because she was like, I mean, she's had a really, really bad day. And so she starts complaining to one of the executives who works like on the 10th floor, and she just like lets him have it about how like crappy everything is and how nobody else gets Christmas bonuses. And just, I mean, she lays into him, and they get like temporarily stuck in the elevator. And then fast forward, and Archer, the man she was complaining to about all of this, is actually the boss of the whole place. And so it's a super cute, meet cute Christmas story. I didn't realize it was a Christmas story until I started reading it
Oh, you saw
or
the
listening to it, I guess.
package and you were like,
No, it was
okay.
an Audible, like an Audible original story that was free.
Yes.
Is this going to be a regular book or the trilogy book?
This is one of my trilogies.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Should I give you 3 minutes?
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, is it a bad trilogy?
No.
Okay, just tell us. Oops. Tell us.
Okay. So this is the first book in this trilogy is Start a War. This is by Elle Thorpe. This is her St. View Psychos trilogy. So this is about Bethany Melissa or Bliss. She was born in like on the wrong side of the tracks. Her mom has been a prostitute, and her dad was, we don't even know where he was when she was little. And her brother and her brother's best friend have taken care of her when she was little. And they had like this code word for when she was in trouble. It was, I think it was like fishy crackers. Like, do you want fishy crackers or something? It had something to do with goldfish crackers. And so they always took care of her and made sure that she was okay when she was little. And at a certain age, when she was really young, she was like 5 or 7, somewhere around in there, they got her out of the trailer park and away from the stepdad who they could tell was perving on her and all this bad stuff. And she went to go live with her dad, who was very wealthy, and he lived on the other side of town, and where she could have a decent life. And so we fast forward to her adult life, and she's engaged to a douche canoe, and she gets a call from her brother, who is still on the bad side of town, and he gives her this code phrase just before she hears a gunshot. And come to find out, he's been murdered on his front porch. And she goes back to that side of town, and things progress from there. So like, who killed him? This is a reverse harem. There are 3 guys in this situation. It is a curvy girl romance, which I do not get. You don't get reverse harems. I don't get curvy girl romance. I have a very hard time with curvy girl, and I think it's because I am curvy. But like, I don't get it. I don't understand the appeal in a curvy girl romance at all. I don't want to read about a girl who's chunky, because I don't want to be chunky. So I don't get it.
I could care less if the girl is tall, short, thin, curvy, whatever. I could care less in the book. What bothers me is when there is an obsessive amount of reference to the girl.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If the guy's like, you're beautiful, blah, 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 great.
Yeah.
But what was it? I think it was last week. I read a book where the girl, oh no, I'm going to talk about it
In this
today.
one?
I
Yeah.
did read it last week,
Yeah.
this past week.
Okay.
I can make that my next book. But
Okay.
yes, it drives me nuts.
It
Like,
does.
we don't
It was-
need it's just like what you were saying with Baby Girl being overused. If you keep referencing it, it's overused. I really enjoy Candy Steiner's Weightless, which focuses a little bit on the girl's weight, and I loved how she did it because it doesn't become like repetitive obsessiveness in the book. It was done really, really well. But
Yeah.
most of the time, those books drive me nuts because they're repetitive. So that maybe is why it bothers
So
me.
here's my two other things about it. When you're describing to me and you're telling me that she is curvy, I think of someone who just has a little bit of extra, right? Just we've got hips, we got a little bit of hips, got a little bit of boobs, just a little bit of pudge, a little extra. But then you
Well,
start
then I am
describing,
not a curvy girl because I have more than just a little extra.
but my idea of extra or curvy and somebody else's idea of curvy are two different ideas. If I were to tell you that I'm a size 16, 14, whatever, right? Like if I say, okay, I'm a size 16, my size 16 is different than somebody else's size 16. It depends on your height. It depends on your height. It depends on your build. It depends on your bone structure. And so to tell us those things, like it's just really hard. Weight is subjective. It really it's it. I just have a really hard time with it. The other thing that I had a hard time with it in this book, and it was brought up a few different times, she's not described as a really obese girl, like severely obese. She's described as curvy for the most part. There were a few times it bothered me because it kept getting brought up. But she brings up the fact that she doesn't think she can get pregnant because she was told at 16 that because she was overweight, she couldn't get pregnant. And
What?
yes. Now I know when someone is morbidly obese and like there's been situations where we've heard that you know, if you're severely underweight, there's possibility you can't get pregnant. But just because you carry a little extra weight does not mean you're not going to be able to get pregnant. And so again, it comes down to that thing is really big with me when it comes to women's reproductive health in a book. Please be accurate. You know,
unless it was a situation where somebody was just mean and was saying that.
I know.
You know,
it's
like
just really hard. I mean, think about
But
when I got pregnant with my third. I hadn't lost the weight from the first two. It was not an issue. Like it's not. It's just that's just a big pet peeve of mine. Just please be accurate when it comes to women's reproductive health when you're talking about that in a book, when you're writing a book.
yeah.
So, and I just yeah. Anyhow, let's talk about your next book. I'm going to try not to rant for every single book this week.
Okay, my next book is not. Well, I guess I can skip. No, every time I skip ahead, I forget a book. So I'm going to go in order.
We'll talk about it when we get there.
The other one later.
Okay. By the way, I did give that one 4 stars. Sorry, guys.
Good thing I hadn't pushed the timer yet. Goodness. Okay, my next book is called One of Those Flings by Lauren Blakely. And this is Skylar and Caleb. Again, this was an Audible original that I listened to. Obviously, if it's an Audible original. Oh my gosh, I'm tired. I'm so sorry. Okay, so Skylar has sworn off men for a year and she goes on vacation. So it's getting towards the end of that year of her swearing off of men. And she goes on this vacation to Hawaii by herself. And what do you know? The tour guide is fine. So she meets Caleb, and Caleb and her just kind of really click. But he's in Hawaii and she lives in California. She's there on vacation. She's sworn off men, and he's really not looking for anything either. So this is one of those flings. Look at me beating
Look
my
at you
time.
go. I'm so proud. That's awesome.
I gave it 4 stars. I'll say that before Jessica starts talking.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was too busy ranting to
Pay
throw that
attention to what's going on.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm not gonna rant about this one, I promise.
Fantastic. Ready?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So I read a K Webster book this week, and no, it's not the one that you're thinking. I read The Teacher of Nothing by K Webster. I finally did this one. So this is about Callum and Willa. Callum is a teacher. He's a high school teacher, and Willa is his What?
I love this book.
I know. Willa is his 18-year-old student. So Callum is very jaded. His dad actually had an affair with his high school girlfriend when they were in high school and got her pregnant. And so he is very jaded when it comes to love. And he's very grumpy. He's a real dick to all of the students, actually. He's a real jerk. But there is something about Willa that he can't take his eyes off her. He even says, not that she's just drop dead gorgeous. There's just something about her. Willa has a pretty crummy home life, as the majority of the heroines in these books are or have. Her stepbrother is in class with her, and he is an absolute jerk, and he bullies her, and he's mean to her. And good old Callum here kind of steps up as her protector. So this is their story. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. K Webster can just do no wrong. I'm sorry. Do no wrong. I really want the dad's story.
Me too. Callum and the dad, and I forgot what.
Jamie, I think?
Yeah. The
Jamie?
3 of them should have one book where it kind of starts off like Callum's point of view as this is going on, because he's still like jaded about it. Like
very much so. But gosh dang.
17, 18 years later.
I know. Want that story?
Can you imagine being the teacher to your siblings that you share dad with, and their mom is also your ex-girlfriend?
Your stepmommy is your ex-girlfriend.
But in all the books in that series, she seems like she's not vindictive or bitchy to him. Like, she really just wants them all to be like a lovey-dovey family.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway. I actually have 6 books because I did read that K Webster book and I forgot to write it down.
Oh, okay. That's okay. That's perfect.
Sorry. I knew I was missing a book before we started. I told you, I think I'm missing a book, and I'm like, oh no, I guess I'm not.
That's what happens when you're tired. Yep. Okay. So are you ready to talk about your next book though?
No, because I switched my note page. Okay. Yes, I am.
Okay.
So my next book is Rescued by Love by Cami Checklets. It's narrated by Teddy Hamilton. That's why I listened to it.
Teddy Hamilton!
Yeah, so you would think Teddy could have rescued this story, but I gave it 3 stars. This is about Cameron, or the captain at the firehouse, and Sage. Sage is tall. We get it. That is brought up so much. She's super insecure about how tall she is. So kind of like the whole curvy girl thing. Like, we do not have to be reminded. Sorry, my computer's about to die. We do not have to be reminded every 5 seconds about somebody's features that they're not okay with. Like, if that's something they need to work through, great. Like, weave that into the story in a productive manner. It didn't work for me in this one. So Sage is a teacher, and she parks in front of a fire hydrant, which I kind of find weird because usually teachers are very much rule followers, but she really needs to get into this bakery. So she parks in front of the fire hydrant, and what do you know? The firefighters come, and they really need to hook up to the fire hydrant. So that is how she meets the captain. There's another fire. There's a moose attack. I really just didn't vibe with this book. But it wasn't awful.
This is the one you were messaging me about, and you were like, and now there's been a moose attack.
Yes. It just wasn't really one that worked for me, but other people may really enjoy it.
Yeah. But Teddy, this is where you messaged me also and said, I've got news for you. And then you told me that Teddy Hamilton's going to be at Love in Vegas. And then I was late at work. I was working late that night. And my friend that I was working with was like, you're really flushed. Are you okay? Because I was so excited to see Teddy Hamilton. So, yeah. I'm going to try very hard not to embarrass you at Love in Vegas, but
Yeah.
no promises. No promises. All right. You know the drama that we heard about at Book Bonanza?
Yes.
It will now be Love in Vegas, but I'll be causing all the drama. Anyhow, my next book.
Please.
Okay, so I read, finally did it. I read Always Mine by Laura Pavlov. So this is the first in her Honey Mountain series. I know. It took me forever to finally get to this one. So this is about Nico and Vivi. So Vivi is, this whole series is like about all these sisters. Their dad is the chief of the fire hall, I think. Nico is her best friend. They've grown up together. He is a firefighter, but he's also like the town ho. He's with everybody. He's got the reputation. Vivi has broken up with her boyfriend. He cheated on her, and now he is getting engaged, or he's getting married to the girl that he cheated on her with. And she doesn't have a lot of experience. She didn't have the greatest sex life with this guy. And so she actually goes to Nico and is like, hey, will you teach me some things? And at first he's like, no. And then he's like, sure. And so this is a Friends to Lovers. It was cute. I gave it 4 stars. I've just kind of learned that I'm really not, Friends to Lovers isn't my thing. It really isn't. I don't know why. I enjoyed it. It just isn't always my thing. I need more eggs than that. But I do love Laura Pavlov. So.
Well, the Friends part, I think, is what ruins it for you, because you like the naughty mafia bad
To be mean.
Yeah.
Hateful.
So if the guy is like, I know she tried to make him kind of be like a player in that book a little bit, but that it wasn't really the bad boy vibe, because he was still like respectful. So you
hate it when they're respectful.
Girl who has the friend who like is like a real bad boy. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
It's also because I've had the week that I've had too. I think that impacted my books because I've had such a stressful week. I think that's come out in my reading this week too. Books that I would have been like, yeah, I love it. I think that I'm just in a weird space. So I'm a little extra critical of books this week, unfortunately. So Did love it though. It was good. It was a great small town romance. Yeah. Okay. Are you spacing?
No, I'm just waiting for you to finish.
Oh, it looked like you were just staring off into space there.
Sorry.
Okay.
I can't figure out how to record better, because if I look up at the camera, but I like to look at you when we're talking.
I like to look at you too. So, and I think our viewers know, I hope they know that when we're not looking directly at them, we're looking at each other.
Well, one thing I noticed during video editing, I have a really high blink rate. So people probably have no idea.
I just noticed that I try, when it's just me on the screen, I try to look at the camera. But like right now, I'm looking at you because I'm talking to you. So sorry. So sorry.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, Jessica, you're not going to be happy with me.
Why?
About my next book.
What? Why?
Do you want me to tell you right now? I can be short with it.
Okay.
I found a K Webster book that wasn't a 5-star read.
Oh, I did today too, but that's for next week.
Oh, okay. You're like, K Webster can do no wrong. And I'm like, oh,
I wish you can't. But okay. It's okay. Stop.
Okay. So I read Lost with You by K Webster. Sorry, my ring light is probably in my window. So there's the book, Lost with You. It's a short novella. And this is about Andrew and Hunter. Hunter feels like he's not enough. He just doesn't feel like he's enough for anybody. And Hunter feels like he's just a bit too much. This book is really full of a lot of self-loathing. And I get that when they come together, they meet on this like dating. I don't even know if it's an actual dating site, but it's like this let's get lost type site. I don't know, chat. I don't know how to describe it. Anyway, so they end up meeting up and go on a road trip just trying to get lost together. And they end up really like kind of falling for each other, obviously. But there was just way too much self-loathing on both of their parts where they felt that, one was too much and one was not enough, but together they were kind of like perfect. And I get that whole point, but I just don't like the self-loathing in books that much. So it was still good. It was a 3-star read, but I
Mhm.
actually started this months and months ago and it got buried on my nightstand. And so I was cleaning up some there was a stack of books, okay. And when I was cleaning them up, I'm like, "Oh, I never finished this." And
Oh,
I
well,
was
good
like,
job.
"Oh, now I kind of know why. I just can't I don't know."
Yeah.
And I think
Okay.
that's where, like, with my other book, with the tall girl thing, like that self-loathing, if there's no growth with it and it's just constant, like, I hate how tall I am, or I hate how curvy I am. If it's constantly that, it's just too much for me.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
Maybe it's because I get down on myself about like my weight and like when I hurt my foot, I gained 30 pounds and that was like 3 years ago and I've only lost about 15 of that. And so maybe it just makes me start to self-loathe. I don't
Well, I think
know.
because reading's an escape, so you don't want to sit there and dwell on your own
Yeah,
shortcomings.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, are you ready for the weirdness?
Oh, goody. I just hope it's not a book that you're reading for the convincing my bestie.
No, it was a Megaverse. I just know that you haven't read that yet. That'll be another convincing my bestie at some point in time. Y'all who want it, all you gotta do is ask for it.
We're gonna have to change this to frenemy book reviews.
No, it's okay. All right,
Convincing my frenemy to read. Okay, ready?
I'm ready. So this is called The Beta. It's by Evane Michaels. So this is about Talia. She is a beta. And so this is an Omegaverse. So she is her mom is like this famous Omega, and she runs the Omega registry, and she's believed that Talia is going to be Omega her whole life, and she's been raised to be an Omega. So in this world, the job of the betas is to care for and take care of the pack, especially the Omegas. They're there to support the Omega. So she has been in several packs. She is very defiant and she has gotten into a lot of trouble, and she keeps getting kicked out of all of these packs. So her mom has arranged for her to go into this pack. It is like the strongest pack in their area or whatever, and they have a male Omega. And so she goes into this pack, completely ignores all of the guys, and she bows down to the male Omega and is like, "I'm here for you." And all of the guys in this pack, they don't want her there. So they're not very nice to her. And so this is the story of their story. So they really don't want her there. This is more of a dark Omegaverse. Definitely check triggers. There are a lot of triggers. The author does not describe them very well. So if you have severe triggers, you message us, send us an email, send me an email, or send the author an email, because there are some pretty severe ones in this one that the author does not outline very well. So definitely check them.
Okay.
But oh yeah, I gave it 4 stars. It was like 4.5. It's a trilogy. There's 3 of them. It got really long. Otherwise, they'd have been 5. But it got really, really long. So yeah, I don't think it needed to be as long as it was. Just saying.
All right. Ready?
Ready.
Okay, so my next book is Wrong for You by Harlow Ray. I bought this book. I had no idea what it was about, but I bought this book.
For the cover.
Okay. We can all just, I mean, this could just be my minute. We can all just stare. This is about Jake and Harper. It's a single dad romance. So this starts off with Jake breaking Harper's heart when he breaks up with her because he got another girl pregnant. Just to clarify, this happens like right in the prologue, so no spoilers here. They had only been together for like 5 or 6 months, and so this happened right before they got together, and he just found out that she was pregnant. So that it's not a cheating. I don't want it to sound like that. So Harper goes off to college and she comes back. She opens a dance studio, and Jake is now raising his daughter by himself. The mom has disappeared, and he is a fantastic single dad, but he's definitely like kind of grumpy. And so him and Harper keep running into each other because his little girl, Sydney, goes to her dance school. And so it just sort of like fate is just kind of pushing them back together. And I liked it. It started off really strong, and I'm like, this is going to be a 5-star read. And then all of a sudden, Jake just kind of does this 180 and decides he really wants Harper back. But I didn't quite ever fully grasp what it was that like made that 180 happen. It was too sudden for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or maybe I just missed where it was like the buildup. But it just felt like we were like, no, no, no. Like he didn't want to bring another woman into his daughter's life since her mom was like in and out all the time. And Harper like had already been heartbroken by him. And so I guess maybe there's some things I could have read into it to kind of figure out where that change was, but it wasn't, I don't know. Does that make sense? It just didn't quite click with me. And the little girl is, sorry about that. The little girl is really adorable. She reminded me a lot of the kids in Ignite by Melanie Harlow. But at one point, it got to be a little too much because it started to feel like I was reading like this family book instead of like a romance. Do you know what I mean? There's like a fine line there. It was still a solid 4-star read. And again,
it was worth looking at, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I would still recommend the book, but it's definitely not, I don't know.
It's not a reread.
Well,
it's a stare at the cover book.
Now you know why I had to clean my nightstand off. All right, Jessica.
That's awesome. All right, so I don't even need the full minute for this one. So this is My Brother's Billionaire Best Friend by Max Monroe. This is our Convincing My Bestie to Read. This is a rom-com. This is a brother's best friend. And we're going to talk about it in that video that will be out. So that's all you're getting from me. Because, that's it. That's it.
When you said you didn't need the minute, you said that before and you used your minute before. So I'm like, I'm still setting the timer. And then when you started, I'm like, oh, okay, that's why we don't need
she really doesn't need the minute. So
okay. Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have one more since I forgot about the book I read. I can't believe I forgot about it.
All good.
It's because I'm tired. Okay, so I read K Webster's latest book called The Untamed. This is Devin and Reed's kids. So if you watched our live where we reread The Wild and the Free, we see Wild, who's the boy from Free, and then we see Devin and Reed have like 9 kids now, I think. Mm-hmm. So we see the oldest ones, Reagan, Ryder, and Ronan, which at times it's all 3 of those points of view through the story. And at times it got a little confusing because I'm used to like when we flip to the guy, it's one guy. And so when it's 2 guys and they both have like the R names, I was like, wait, which one was this again? A few times. This book kept me on the edge of my seat. It has a huge cliffhanger. I heard the next book isn't coming out until October, which is stressful. I wanted to know what happened. I was expecting a lot more like Wild. If I don't want to give stuff away from other books, but if you've read The Wild or you've read The Free, you kind of go into thinking this book is going to kind of follow that path. And K Webster actually puts in her little book thingies that she made with like the tropes for it. She calls it a slow burn. It is definitely a slow burn because there's like something else going on that focuses most of the story. But I was captivated by it. I absolutely loved it. I cannot wait for the next book. And I also felt like there were hints of other books that might be coming. But K Webster, like the teacher of nothing, like she can weave a backstory where you're like, wait a minute, I want that story too. And she doesn't, like, maybe she has plans someday to do it. But do you see what I'm saying? Like sometimes her side characters just add to it without. Yep. But it sounds like from what she's teased about.
She said there's going to be more in that.
That she's going, yeah. That
yes, we just don't know when. But just so we all know, I will not be reading that book until the other one comes out because I will not do that to myself. I can't.
No, I usually don't like doing that because if I read it and then I read
forget.
so many books I forget, but I am not like the way this book ended, I will not be forgetting it. And it's such a different feel. I've read a lot of K Webster. This is a very different feel. Still phenomenal writing, just a very different storyline and feel than what her other things have been.
Yeah, I mean, I was so excited for it, and then when I heard it was a cliffhanger, I was like, son of a booger.
It is a cliffhanger.
Yeah, I hate those. Yeah, so there you go.
Okay.
Okay. All right, guys. So that is what we have for you. We weren't too ranty. Mandy didn't fall asleep. I think we did good. It's great. Yay. All right. So thank you guys so much for watching.
Make back. Make back?
Wow.
Oh, yeah, I am so tired.
And we thought she could make it till the end.
I'm just combining all my words. Make back. Okay. Make sure to check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from us.
Until then, we'll see you guys in the next video.